Hi, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the appraisal, and I think we've talked about this before, but want to make sure that whether you're the buyer or the seller and you're thinking about an appraisal, whether you're going to hire someone yourself, you're doing a refinance, or you're purchasing or you're selling your home. First of all, the appraiser gets data from the multiple listing and from the assessor to look at room count, number of rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms, all of that information. Then, when they come to the property, they are really just trying to verify that it is what the assessor or the multiple listing says as far as the rooms and that kind of stuff. So a lot of times we will make up a bullet point, make sure that they see these certain things or these certain features or upgrades. Of course, a lot of that we put in the multiple listing because we want everyone to see that information. If you're refinancing, you might want to make sure that you list to them some of the extras, some of the upgrades, some of the unique things on your property. But one thing to think about is the process of them coming up with a value. So what you and I put value on, the appraiser may not put value on. You might be like, oh, look, this house has got all hardwood floors, and the other homes only had carpet or maybe had some laminate. The appraiser is going to make a very slight, if any, adjustment for that, because overall, they're looking at the whole property and all of the features, the square footage of like properties, the number of rooms, the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, the number of acres. They're looking at the main features and fixtures of the property. They're not looking at, oh, this one's got hardwood or this one's got carpet, or, oh, look, this one's got granite and this one's got Corian or laminate or whatever. They make very, very slight adjustments for upgrades and improvements unless something is totally outdated and obsolete. So just want to kind of talk about that process. Then if you get the appraiser, when you get the appraisal, because if you're buying or if you're refinancing, you're going to get a copy of your appraisal. If you're the seller, you don't get a copy of the appraisal because the buyer paid for that. So it's their report, just like the inspection, it's their report. So when the buyer gets a copy of that appraisal, if it came in under value, you or the buyer can appeal that appraisal if the lender is able and willing. If you have different comparables, if you have something, we're all human. Let's say the appraiser made a mistake and missed a bedroom or a bathroom or, some detail, or there's something that you really feel the comparables they used are not similar to your home. You can appeal that process. Doesn't happen a lot of times, but sometimes they do make an adjustment or a slight adjustment, when we'll hear what you're saying, or your concerns. And then once that appraisal comes in, then that appraisal then stays with that home based on that loan to value and that buyer. So some loans, like I mentioned, stay with the home. So like an FHA loan, for example, that is then tied to that house. So if that buyer even falls apart, another buyer may come along and they're going to look at what that FHA appraisal is already done if that next buyer is FHA as well. Hope that makes a little bit of sense, a little confusing there in the if, ands, or buts. But just kind of wanted to talk about what happens during the appraisal beforehand, and then also why it takes a little bit of time, because once they've been to the house and looked through the home, then they've got to go back and compare those comparables and see, are they comparable? They've got to finish up their report. If you've seen an appraisal, typically the reports are 10, 15, 20 pages long. So there's a lot of details that go into that. So typically once the appraiser comes, it's a week, maybe 2 weeks before you actually get that report. So just kind of wanted to deep dive into the appraisal, the process, what happens, what can happen, and what you might be on the lookout for. Oh, that helps a little bit. As you have questions, you can comment below, you can send me a private message, or you can always text or call 815-275-6610.